Food is a human right. Those are the words proudly displayed across our meeting room walls here at Food Banks Mississauga. It motivates our staff, encourages volunteers, and gives confidence to food bank visitors that we believe they deserve to thrive. But we get a lot of questions about it too. Questions like, people can't expect the government to just give them food for free, can they? Or, where is the personal responsibility if we just give people food? Or sometimes, how do you make sure that people don't abuse the food banks? And so, since food as a human right is a foundational aspect of Food Banks Mississauga's philosophy and our operations, I wanted to take a few minutes to unpack what food as a human right means to us. So first off, I am not proposing that the government should set up free stores and that everyone is entitled to free stuff. But food is a requirement to be alive, and so we have to treat it differently from other consumer goods. The federal government is obliged, as a signatory to the UN Declaration of Human Rights, to ensure that the conditions are in place for people to be able to meet their own food needs. It states, everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care, and the necessary social services. So, what conditions need to be in place so that everyone in Canada can have a standard of living adequate for their health and well-being, including food? It's not just about food safety laws so that food is grown and handled and distributed without causing illness. It's not just about zoning laws that put food stores close to where people live and work. Food costs money, so how do we ensure conditions where everyone can afford to buy the food that they need? Canada must establish a framework of laws and programs to ensure that citizens can meet their own food needs. But our current laws and programs are not strong enough to create the conditions where everyone can have a standard of living that's adequate for their health and well-being. Canada is not meeting its obligations under human rights law. For example, minimum wage in Ontario is up to $10 less per hour than a living wage, meaning even if you work full-time at minimum wage, it's not going to be enough to afford basics. For folks who receive disability supports, the program rate leaves a person $11,000 below the poverty line, and welfare programs leave a person almost $19,000 below the poverty line, meaning they don't have enough income for rent and food. Rent control has been discontinued in some cases in Ontario. Anti-monopoly rules are weak, and employment insurance doesn't cover the types of jobs that folks have today, like the gig work. And because these conditions have not been created, charities like Food Banks Mississauga rely on compassionate neighbors like you to donate food to make sure that their neighbors don't go hungry. And we go out and find and rescue food to give to neighbors at no cost. With the pandemic, followed by the inflation and the cost of living crises, the situation is worse than it has ever been. But Canada can do better. We can build a society where everyone can afford food without having to rely on a charity. Canadian society raised me, it raised us to believe that if we worked hard, we got a good education, and we found a job, that we would be able to thrive in life. And that if things went wrong, or if we hit a speed bump in life, that there would be a safety net to catch us. Let's make that true again, and let's create the conditions where everyone can meet their food needs.